Hello, and I welcome you to the UPSC Prelims Chaturya series of Shantha Lakshmi IAS Academy, wherein we would be discussing daily prelims MCQs from the Hindu, Indian Express, and PIB. So let's begin. The first question: consider the following statements regarding Zika virus disease. Statement 1: Zika virus disease is a mosquito-borne viral infection and it was first identified in 1947 in Tanzania. Second statement: Zika virus is transmitted by female mosquitoes, mainly of the species Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus. Third statement: these mosquitoes are also vectors of chikungunya, yellow fever, and dengue viruses. So, how many of the statements given above is or are correct? Option A, only 2. Option B, only 1. Option C, all 3. Option D, none. So why we are discussing Zika virus disease? Because recently the Karnataka government has stepped up its surveillance after it found that a mosquito pool in Chikbalpur has found to be Zika virus positive. So in this regard, we need to have an idea about Zika virus disease. So coming to the answer to this particular question, Zika virus disease is a mosquito-borne viral infection. Yes, it is transmitted by mosquitoes. It was first identified in 1957. Yes, but it is not first identified in Tanzania. It was first identified in Zika forest in Uganda. That's why this virus is named as Zika. So, second statement, this Zika virus is transmitted by Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus, a female mosquitoes. Yes, it is true. Third statement, these mosquitoes are also vectors of chikungunya, yellow fever, and dengue virus. Yes, third statement is also correct. The first statement is wrong. So if we eliminate the first statement, second and third statements are correct. So two statements. So the question is, how many of the statements given above is are correct? So two statements, second and third statements are correct. So option A is the right answer. So let's have a brief idea about the Zika virus. So Zika virus is a mosquito-borne virus. Is first identified in Zika forest, Uganda in 1947 in a rhesus macaque monkey. It was first identified in a rhesus macaque monkey. How it is transmitted? It is transmitted to humans through the bite of infected Aedes mosquito, that is Aedes aegypti and Aedes albopictus. It is spread through a sexual contact, blood transfusion, and from an infected mother to her baby during pregnancy or childbirth. So, coming to the symptoms, many people may not experience any of the symptoms, but sometimes symptoms do occur. They're often mild and they include fever, joint pain, headache, and red eyes, etc. The symptoms would last for 2 to 7 days, and it may also last for several days to a week. So Zika virus disease had greater consequences on pregnant women and their babies. So when a pregnant woman was infected with Zika virus disease, it can lead to birth defects such as microcephaly in the baby. Microcephaly is a neurological disorder. The Zika virus is also linked to Guillain-Barré syndrome. So this syndrome is a rare autoimmune disorder in which it will lead to muscle weakness and paralysis. So coming to the treatment, there is no specific treatment available for the Zika virus infection or disease. So next question. Adaptation Gap Report 2023 is an annual report published by option A, World Economic Forum, option B, Global Footprint Network, option C, United Nations Environmental Program, option D, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. So Adaptation Gap Report 2023 has been recently released, and we will be looking later we will be looking at the findings of this particular report. So coming to the answer, this Adaptation Gap Report 2023 is released by, it is published by United Nations Environment Program. Option C is the right answer. So this GAP report was an annual publication. It is published annually by UNEP since 2014. So in this particular report, it would assess the global situation, and it would assess the global situation and progress with regarding to adaptation to climate change. It is co-produced by UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center and World Adaptation Science Program. What is the objective? To inform climate negotiations among the UN member states and to explore options for enhancing the national and global adaptation efforts against to mitigate a climate change and to adapt to the climate change. Coming to the findings of the Adaptation Gap Report 2023, it has found that the developing countries are not getting enough financial support from the developed countries. So the adaptation finance has found that the needs of developing countries are 10 to 18 times as great as international public finance flows. And it is also found that in many developing countries, the largest source of funding for adaptation is domestic budgets. Their domestic budgets are the largest source of funding in many developing countries. And another important data is that 55 most vulnerable economies have experienced losses and damages more than $500 billion in the last 2 decades. And every billion that was invested in adaptation against the coastal funding led to $14 billion reduction in economic damages. And while 5 out of 6 countries now have at least one national adaptation planning instrument, but a progress that to reach a full global coverage is very slow. So you can use this particular data of the Adaptation Gap Report 2023 while writing a mains answer. Next question, consider the following statements with respect to Elephant Corridor Report 2023. At present, there are 150 elephant corridors in India. Second statement, West Bengal has the most elephant corridors in India. Third statement, elephant corridor in revenue lands and private lands are to be notified under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. How many of the statements given above are correct? Option A, only 1. Option B, only 2. Option C, all 3. And option D, none of the above. So this Elephant Corridor Report 2023 has been released by the central government earlier this year. But recently, Raman Sukumar, who is an ecologist and elephant expert, has pointed out inconsistencies in this particular report. He has stressed that there was inconsistency in defining the corridors and inconsistency regarding measures of different corridors. So in this context, we have asked this particular question. Coming to the answer, yes, at present we have totally 150 elephant corridors in India. And the second statement is also right. West Bengal has the most elephant corridors in India. Coming to the third statement, elephant corridor in revenue lands and private lands are to be notified under Environmental Protection Act 1986, not under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Elephant corridor usually are notified under Wildlife Protection Act 1972, but elephant corridors in revenue lands and private lands are notified under Environmental Protection Act 1986. So the third statement is wrong. How many of the statements given above are correct? So only 2 options are correct. Answer option B is the right answer. So let's have a brief idea about this report. According to the report, Center has identified 62 new corridors. So the total number of the corridors right now is 150 corridors, elephant corridors. Previously, in 2010, we have just 8 corridors in our country. Now we have 150 corridors. So West Bengal has the highest number of elephant corridors. That is 26 elephant corridors are present in West Bengal. And the intensity of elephant use has increased in 59 of these corridors, and the elephant corridors and 59 of these corridors has also remained stable. Coming to the elephant bearing regions in India, we have 4 elephant bearing regions. East Central region, Northeast region, Southern region, and Northern region. So East Central region has been with highest number of elephant corridors, that is 52, whereas Northern region reported the lowest number of elephant corridors at 18. So East Central region has highest number of elephant corridors and Northern region has lowest number of elephant corridors. So there are states where elephants have recently increased. So the Vidarbha region in the Maharashtra has showed increased presence of the elephants, especially in Bandhavgarh and Sanjay tiger reserves. And apart from southern Maharashtra, northern Andhra Pradesh also there is increased presence of the elephants, where elephants are moved into that place from Odisha. So who will notify this elephant corridors? Elephant corridors in forest areas are notified under Wildlife Protection Act 1972. So in forest areas, elephant corridors are notified under Wildlife Protection Act 1972, whereas elephant corridor with revenue lands and private lands are notified under Environmental Protection Act 1986. So this elephant corridors are eco-sensitive regions. So the red category industries are prohibited in this particular region. Coming to elephants, elephants are the keystone species. Keystone species means a species that holds the system together, that has a greater impact on the ecosystem as well. And elephants is also natural heritage animal of India. India has the largest number of wild Asian elephants, and estimated to be over 30,000 wild Asian elephants. Coming to the state, Karnataka has the highest elephant population in India. Regarding its conservation status, under Convention of Migratory Species, it is protected under Appendix 1. Under Wildlife Protection Act 1972, it is protected under Schedule 1. Coming to International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List of Threatened Species, Asian elephant is under endangered category. African forest elephant is under critically endangered category. African savanna elephant is under endangered category. So both Asian elephant and African savanna elephant is under endangered category of IUCN, and African forest elephant is under critically endangered category. So the next question, Bletchley Declaration, sometimes seen in the news recently, is related to which of the following? Option A, first declaration to recognize indigenous knowledge as a condition for biodiversity conservation of Amazon forest. Second statement, it reaffirms global commitment and harness potential of traditional medicine to achieve health and well-being for all. Option C, responsible artificial intelligence development by reducing the risk posed by frontier artificial intelligence. Option D, to operationalize loss and damage fund and global stock take to close the gaps in global climate action. So the answer to this particular question is, this declaration is about artificial intelligence, in developing artificial intelligence by reducing the risk posed by the artificial intelligence. So option C is the right answer. So India has signed this Bletchley Declaration, which was Bletchley Declaration, wherein political and tech leaders has attended the UK Global AI Safety Summit at Bletchley Park, and they have adopted this particular Bletchley Declaration, wherein they will be regulating artificial intelligence. Coming to this Artificial Intelligence Safety Summit 2023, India, as we have discussed, that India have signed this Bletchley Declaration that addresses the risks of artificial intelligence. Why there is so much of importance in artificial intelligence? Because now artificial intelligence has transformed every walks of the life. So it is very important to regulate the artificial intelligence to make most out of it. So this Bletchley Declaration also calls for the responsible artificial intelligence development by reducing the risk posed by it. And it also focused on developing cross-country policies to mitigate the risk and to encourage transparency and accountability from the people who have been developing this artificial intelligence technology. So India was among the 28 countries that have signed this particular Bletchley Declaration. And it is also the world's first declaration for the responsible AI development. Under the declaration, it has two-pronged agenda. First one is to identify the risks of this particular artificial intelligence, and second one is to build a scientific understanding about the artificial intelligence. So the next question, with which of the following countries do India have 2+2 ministerial dialogue on strategic and security issues? First one, United States, Japan, Australia, Russia. Choose the correct answer. Option A, 1, 2, 3 only. Option B, 1 and 3 only. Option C, 1, 2, 3 only. And option D, 1, 2, 3, 4. So why we have been discussing this question? Because two ministers from USA are set to visit New Delhi next week for 2+2 dialogue. So 2+2 dialogue is a format in international relations where foreign minister and the defense minister of a country would meet their counterparts of the other country, wherein they would be discussing important foreign policy issues and security issues, and they would also collaborate and cooperate on the common concerns. Coming to the answer to this particular question, India have 2+2 dialogue with all these countries. It has 2+2 dialogue with United States of America, Japan, Australia, and Russia as well. So option D is the right answer. So we have discussed that 2+2 dialogue was held between Indian external affairs ministers and defense ministers with their counterparts. If regarding this particular meeting, Indian external affairs minister and defense minister would be meeting with their US counterparts in the upcoming meet. So this dialogue is aimed to provide a positive and forward-looking vision for the India's-US strategic partnership. And with what is the importance of this 2+2 dialogue? It will help us to promote synergy between diplomatic and security efforts, and it would help us to maintain good relationships with other countries and to discuss the common concerns in foreign affairs and security issues. And it was resolved to continue the meetings in this format on annual basis. So they would be meeting annually. And by this, we will be concluding this session. I hope this session was helpful. Thank you.